You are watching NetSoft IT Academy. 905-812-2923. info@netsoftacademy.com. www.netsoftacademy.com.
So now let's start with lab number 1. Lab number 1 is about installing Active Directory domain services on a server. So I'll first create my server virtual machine. This will be a Server 2025 virtual machine, and this will be my domain controller as well. So let's start. Create a new virtual machine. Next. I will install the operating system later. That I'm going to do later. Next. Now I'm going to select Windows Server 2025 here, the latest Windows Server edition or version, not edition. Now I'm going to name this virtual machine Nita ADDS01. Now, once we are here, I'm going to click on Browse, and I'm going to create a new folder called Exchange Labs. And yes, I'm going to move this out into my documents so I can access them whenever I need to. Okay. Next. I'll select the firmware type as BIOS. Next. Now, the number of cores depends on how much processing you want to do for this. Generally, I would say leave it at that, but in some cases, I would recommend increasing the number of cores, the number of processors. Remember, the number of processors, not the cores. One processor can be split into these many cores. But you can go for this, and you can go for this. And that would give you more processing power logically. Remember that. So for this one, I'm not changing anything. I'll be keeping it at the default values, 1 and 1. Next. Now for the RAM, I'm going to give it 4096 GB or MB, not GB. It's 4 GB of RAM. That is 4 into 10 into 1024. 1 GB is 1024 MB. So 4096 MB. Next. I'm going to use NAT for this. Next. I'm going to use for this one, however, you can use the recommended SAS, or you can also use the SCSI. But you can see that a few of these things are not supported anymore. So you always have to double check what is supported and what isn't. All right, so you're not changing anything here again. Next. Now here I'm going to select SCSI as the virtual disk type. Next. Create a new virtual disk. Next. I'm going to store everything in one as a single file here, and I'm not changing the recommended size unless absolutely necessary. Next, and finish. Now that this is finished, this is my virtual machine. I'm going to click on Edit Virtual Machine Settings. Click on CD/DVD SATA, and under this, I'll select the Use ISO image file option, and I click on Browse. Now, I for one know where my ISOs are. So should you. So this PC, you can see this. I have my ISOs right here. I select Windows Server 2025, open. Okay. I power on this virtual machine. Now remember to click on the machine before you start, because it will ask you to click on a tab or press a button or do something to continue the installation. So you have to be inside the virtual machine. If you see it like this, that means that it isn't in the virtual machine. When you don't see the icon, that means that it is in the virtual machine. You can see this. See the difference? All right, now here, this, by the way, remember this, the installation for Windows Server 2025 is a little bit different than Windows Server 2016, 2019, and 2022 even, because those were all built on the older Windows 10 UI interface, UI base. Now, in this one, it is built on the new Windows 11 interface. So if you are used to that, the installation process is a little bit different. Not 100% different, just a little bit different. Okay, next. You can see this. This is where you start seeing the options here. So because we are installing it for the first time, I'll have to select this. Agree. You see this? The next is grayed out here. Unless I select this agree, I agree that everything will be deleted, including files and apps. I'll not be able to do this unless, and you see this part here, unless I select this, I'll not be able to do next. See, and that is the really interesting part in this installation. Next, now it will ask us again for the version or the edition that we need. We always go for desktop experience. For this one, we select the data center desktop experience. Next, accept. Now after this, it will start searching for the disk. So the one disk that we created earlier will be available here. Next. And install. Now we'll wait for this to complete installation. This will take a few minutes to install. We'll wait for it, and once this is done, then we'll move on with the next steps. So at this point, this PC is rebooting itself, as you can see. And remember, now the next thing it will ask us is it will still try to install a few more things. We have to wait for it to install, and this will take a few minutes. So in case it is taking longer for you than you thought it would, it's completely okay. Just give it time. Do not for anything try and speed up the process by changing settings, by doing anything. I know it is very tempting, but please don't do it. Just hold off on that thought. Do something else for 5-10 minutes. It will be installed on its own. You don't have to manually go and do anything with this. So let it be. After restarting, we get to this point. Now, I'm going to enter the password as password 1350. And I would recommend that you do the same as well. Enter the password as password 1350 and click on finish. Oh. Now, one thing, remember, because VMware tools are not installed properly and you're still setting up your virtual machine, things like what I did would still be happening. It's not a problem. It's not a problem per se, but it is a good idea to just be a little bit careful and just be a little bit accepting that these kinds of things would happen with you. Now that we're here, you can see you would have to do Control Alt plus Delete. Now, in VMware, the last time I checked, the command for that was Control Alt plus End. Now, in case you find that too complicated to work with, then you can just do this. Now, I prefer this method because I don't like to, I have function locks on this one, on that one, something else or something or the other is always going on. So not worth the effort. Now, I'm going to enter the password as password 1350 that we just created earlier. And then the machine would start. Now, there are a few things that I like to do as soon as the machine starts. Number one, rename the machine. Always rename your machine so that your naming convention remains constant, so that you know what machine you're talking about and troubleshooting gets easier. If the name is win dash some random sequence of numbers and you have to troubleshoot it, it gets very tricky and very complicated as the infrastructure grows bigger and bigger. So keep that in mind. You can see that this is taking a quick minute to boot up. That is because Windows 11 interface is a little bit heavier than Windows 10 interface and it takes a second. Nothing bad about it. It's just one extra level of work. That's it. Now, for now, I'm going to expand my screen so that you can see what exactly is happening here. And I'm also going to put it on full screen so that you understand the difference when we actually complete the installation. All right. So this is, you see, it will take a quick second. Don't worry about it. If this happens with you, it is not something to be worried about. So I'll just give it a quick minute to start up. And once it is started up, then we will move to the next step. Now, just like how Windows 11 installations work, you get these send diagnostic data. I'm going to select required only because we will be completely offline. So it doesn't matter much for me in that regard. So even if I say send everything, it will not matter much. Now this one, once the server manager this pop-up comes in here, select don't show this message again and close it. Now, like I said, the first thing that I like to do is personally, I like to change the name of the machine. The name of the machine should reflect the name that we put up here. That is Nita ADDS01. And you can see this. The computer name here, if I zoom in a little bit for your reference, oh, you can see that it zoomed in too much for my liking as well. And yes, one of the things that you can see is when VMware tools not working properly. And this is the kind of problems that it encounters or shows us. But the name is something like Win480TQD. Yeah, see, this is the name. We don't want these kinds of names. It's very annoying. So I'm going to click on the name here, click on the computer name. Now you can do it from here, or the other way that the book also recommends is you can go to your file manager or file explorer, not manager, excuse me, file explorer. Go to this PC, right click local disk C and click on properties. Oh, sorry, not right click that one, right click this PC and click on properties. Local disk C will actually give you the disk properties. Happens a lot, happens a lot. And it opens up the settings, and once this loads up, you will see here that we have the option for related links. Click on domain or workgroup, and you can also click on rename this PC right here. Click on domain or workgroup, click on change, and you can do Nita ADDS01. Click on OK. Now, one thing that will happen after this is done, that is that the computer will try to restart. So I'm going to wait for it to restart, but one thing that you can also do while if you don't want to restart straight away is you can install VMware tools. You can do the install together. So I'm going to close this here. VMware tools will start the process. The prompt will come up in a second. And you see, at this time, I've not changed anything yet. Remember, I've not changed anything. This machine can still talk to the internet. You select run setup x64.exe. Remember that this isn't a very typical step, but this is what I like to do personally to make sure that my life is a little bit easier. Because I would like one restart and everything is sorted out, and then we move on to the next steps rather than restarting once, doing the next step, restarting again. It is just a personal preference. You don't have to do it if you're not comfortable with it. You can do whatever you feel the most comfortable with. I feel comfortable with this process because I've done this a half a dozen times or more, actually more than half a dozen times, yes, but it is just that. I'm going to click on yes because this will restart my computer now. Now you can see that the moment VMware tools are installed, things start looking a little bit different, a little bit nicer, a little bit easier to work with. And that is the purpose of VMware tools. A lot of times, a lot of people do not want to install VMware tools because they don't like this, or they just don't care about it. But not having the tools is much more damaging and harmful than actually having the tools. Remember that. So I'll wait for this to restart, and you can see it's restarting here, restarted here. Now again. Now if I do, let us say if I do Control Shift Delete or Control Alt Delete, it would automatically take me to my local machines task manager. It will not do the other thing, the one that I need here, and it will also do this here. But it is very annoying. So that's why I prefer doing from here. You can use the key combination as well, like I already mentioned. So I'm going to log in first. Now let's start with a few things. So let's first change the IP address. Once you're done with the IP address, then we will turn off the firewall, and then we will start with the feature installation. All of this will happen from the server manager. No need to do anything else from anywhere. Click on local server on the server manager. Once it loads up, you can see this blue icon, the blue line here that is running, that would be running here under the server manager, this part here. That indicates that the services are being loaded up. So you'll have to wait for that line to completely be done. If your services are not available to you or you're not able to click something, that is, just wait for it. All right. So once we are here, I'll wait for my Ethernet 0 to show up. Click on Ethernet 0. Now, the name might be different for you as well. In my case, because it is set by default, it is Ethernet 0. But it could be something else depending on how you set it up or what your machines or what type of virtualization software you're using. And you can see this here. Now, one of the difficulties of this interface or this entire process is that you never know if it is working right away. You can see I have both of them here. I clicked on it twice and it started running it in both locations. So right click, properties, Internet Protocol version 4. I'm going to be using the IP address. Let me show it to you here. 172.16.10.10. Oh, and yes, 3 255s. Not 2 255s, 3 255s.0. My default gateway would be 172.16.10.1 and my preferred DNS server would be 172.16.10.10. Okay. Okay, done. Done. Now, the next thing that I'll do is click on Tools and click on Windows Defender Firewall with Advanced Security. This part here. Once that opens up, I'll be turning off all the firewalls. Now, is it necessary to do it? No. Because it's a testing environment, we want to avoid any type of collisions or clashes with everything. So I'll click on Properties here. I'm going to turn off the domain profile firewall state, the private profile firewall state, and the public profile firewall state to, I'm turning everything to off. Click on Apply and click on OK. All right, so once this is done, then we'll move on to the next step. The next step is click on Dashboard and click on Add Roles and Features. Next, we are going to do a role-based or feature-based installation here. Next, this is the server on which we are installing because we only have one server. And under this, I'll be selecting Active Directory Domain Services, the second option here. Add features. Now, next, and install. I'll wait for this to complete installation, and once it is installed, we'll be able to promote the server to a domain controller. This generally does not take too long, but it is, remember that it is going to take a few seconds, maybe a minute or two at the very most. So now that the installation progress is completed, we can move forward. So once you click on close, you will see a yellow icon here under notifications right next to the flag. And you can see that you have the option of promoting the server to a domain controller now. You click on promote the server to a domain controller. Now we don't have any domain, Active Directory domain anywhere. So I select add a new forest. Now for the forest name, I'm going to go with the name nita.local. Nita.local. All right, so next. Now, remember that this entire thing, you can see that the forest function level and the domain function level are also Windows Server 2025 now. In the previous Windows Server 2022 even, the forest function level and the domain function level, the highest levels were Windows Server 2016. That is the biggest difference here. I'm using the same DSRM password, password 1350 here. Next. Now, we need to make sure that DNS delegation is checked here, at least. Now you can see that I can't check it. It's okay. It doesn't do anything for us here. It's grayed out for us. Click on next. We'll wait for the NetBIOS name to show up. Now, NetBIOS name for this one is Nita. That's perfect. Next. 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 Now, one thing before you install, remember this before you install. It is always a good idea to double check a few things. So, for example, the name of the machine, Nita ADDS01. If you have set a static IP, the reason why I'm saying this right now is because once you install or once you promote the server to a domain controller, you will not be able to go back and change anything. So always do this before you complete your installation or start your installation at least. I click on install. And now this will start the domain controller installation. This will take a few minutes. It will install everything and then it will restart on its own. And even then it will start installing all the things in the background. So we'll wait for the installation to complete. So after a little bit of time, you can see that my domain controller has installed properly and restarted. I'm going to log in first. Password 1350, that's the password. Now, I generally prefer doing a few checks after my domain controller has restarted. Now, one of the first checks that I do once the server manager loads up and everything happens is I like to go to Active Directory users and computers. Right here. Go to Tools, Active Directory users and computers, and just check if the domain controller is showing up in the OU of domain controller. And you can see that because the services are still loading in the background, it will take a second. It will take a second. Nothing to be worried about. It's just one of those things, but it is annoying to wait sometimes. It is. That's the only thing. Active Directory users and computers is up here, so that is good. So I'll wait for the Active Directory users and computers to load up, or I'll try to open it again. But remember that because there are certain components that are still running in the background or still loading up in the background, the entire process looks a little bit slower. Now, while that is happening, I'll click on Start. I'll click on Settings. And you see settings loads up faster because it is not a server component, it's more of a local operating system component, right? Then under this, I'll click on Time and Language. And for the time, for the date and time, I'll change the region and the time zone. So I'm going to change the time zone to match more of what we have. So that is Eastern time, -5, UTC -5, US and Canada, Eastern time. And while I'm here, I'm also going to uncheck this, right? I just change the time zone, then uncheck this, correct? No, I just keep it up as it is. And I close this. All right. Now you can see that my ADUC, Active Directory Users and Computers, is open. Now under this, I open my domain and I click on Domain Controller and I can see Nita ADDS01 as the domain controller here, therefore verifying that everything is correct. Now that is the end of the first lab here. Stay tuned and I'll see you in the next lab. Thank you.
Thank you for watching NetSoft IT Academy. 905-812-2923. info@netsoftakademy.com. www.netsoftakademy.com.